All right, let's talk about puberty. It's something literally everyone goes through, right? It's as natural as breathing. But for some reason, we treat it like this big secret, something that happens behind this, this curtain of silence. And that silence, it can turn a totally normal process into something that feels, well, shameful and scary. So today, we're going to pull that curtain back.
And look, to show you what I mean, just read this quote from our source. I hated myself a lot for having wet dreams, feeling ashamed, and considering myself a sinner. Wow, that just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? This isn't some academic discussion. This is real personal pain. When you hear words like hated, ashamed, sinner, you realize that's the real price of silence.
So it really makes you wonder, right? How does a process that every single person experiences become something to be ashamed of? That's the big question we're going to tackle. We're going to look at what happens when we don't talk about it, and, more importantly, what we can do to change that.
Okay, so let's start right there, with the problem itself. This whole curtain of silence thing, it isn't just a little awkward. It's actually causing real harm for kids who are just trying to figure out what's happening to their own bodies.
I mean, think about it. When the adults who are supposed to know things are totally quiet, a kid's curiosity doesn't just, vanish. Nope. They just go somewhere else for answers. They turn to Google, they ask their friends, and what do they find? A whole mess of myths, weird information, and honestly, a ton of extra stress. They're basically left to piece it all together on their own. And this example from our source just really hits home. A simple red spot on a shirt, something that is completely normal, becomes a girl's most hateful memory of our entire time in school. That's a huge deal. It turns a biological fact into this moment of total public shame, all because she wasn't prepared. And the worst part? It's so preventable.
All right, so how do we fix this? We replace that silence with good, clear information. Let's start with what happens for girls. The whole idea here is just to demystify it, right? To make it feel normal and predictable instead of scary and out of the blue.
So if you look at this timeline, the first thing you notice is that this isn't an overnight thing. Not at all. It's a journey that unfolds over several years. And it's super important to remember, these are just averages, okay? Everybody's body has its own unique schedule.
So what are the actual physical signs? Well, here are the big ones. Things like breast development, which might feel a little tender at first, and hair growing in new places. And just seeing them listed out like this, it helps, right? These aren't weird sicknesses. It's just your body's way of saying, hey, we're growing up, and everything is right on track.
And this is a really important point. It's not just about what you can see on the outside. Those hormonal changes are a huge deal on the inside too. They can mess with your emotions, leading to mood swings or anxiety. Things can feel super intense and confusing. Understanding that is everything. It's not just someone being moody for no reason. It's literal biology happening.
Okay, let's just be super clear about menstruation. Our source material puts it perfectly. It's a natural process, just like any other bodily function. In fact, it's a sign that your body is healthy and working exactly the way it's supposed to. It is not a sickness, it's not dirty, and it is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Period.
Okay, now what about the boys? This is a parallel journey, and it's just as important to talk about. This isn't some girls-only thing, it's a human thing. Boys go through their own huge, important changes too.
And you'll see a pretty similar pattern with the timeline here for boys. It happens over a bunch of years. The start time might be around the same as for girls, but some of the really noticeable changes, like a deeper voice, might show up a little later. Again, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
So, the key physical signs for boys, you've got hair in new places, face, underarms, the voice starts to deepen, and other physical changes. Just laying it all out like this helps take away the mystery, right? These are just the expected signs that a body is maturing. But that last one on the list, that's the one that often brings a lot of shame with it.
And let's be crystal clear about this one, because our source is very direct. Wet dreams are an involuntary biological process. It is not something a boy can control, and it is 100% not his fault. Saying it that plainly is how we fight back against those feelings of being a sinner that we heard about at the very beginning.
And this right here, this might be one of the most important ideas in this whole thing. This knowledge shouldn't be separated. When boys understand what's happening with girls, it builds empathy. It's the difference between them laughing at a period stain and them being a supportive friend. It's that simple. Knowledge builds compassion.
Okay, so having all this information is great, but what do you actually do with it?
Well, the source material is really clear that parents are the #1 guides through this whole thing. So let's get into some real actionable advice.
And it really boils down to this simple 4-step guide. It's about paying attention, first of all. Then just being polite and empathetic, really listening without passing judgment. And finally, just being that source of confidence and support. See? It's not about having one big, awkward talk. It's about having lots of small conversations.
And hey, if you ever wonder why this is so important, just think back to the author's story. Remember when he was sent to buy pads? He had no idea what he was doing, and he ended up facing those sarcastic and awkward eyes. A little bit of guidance from a parent would have saved him from that entire horrible experience.
So think of it like putting together a puberty support kit. On one hand, you have the practical stuff, right? Deodorant, pads, the right undergarments. But then you have the stuff that comes from you, which is way more important. Teaching good hygiene, keeping the lines of communication open, and just offering that rock-solid, unconditional support. So, when you boil it all down, what's the solution here? The answer to all that shame and confusion we started with, well, it's actually not that complicated. It's all about a commitment to being open.
I just love this quote from the author. Even if society considers these topics taboo, I don't mind it at all. That's such a powerful stance, isn't it? It's basically saying you're going to put a kid's well-being above what's considered polite or comfortable. It's about deciding to be the adult that you wish you'd had around when you were that age.
And that right there is why this all matters so much. When we actually talk about this stuff, we create an environment where kids can grow up without being afraid of their own bodies. We get to swap out that dangerous back alley curiosity for real, confident knowledge. And that makes all the difference.
So, let's end with a question for you. That curtain of silence around puberty, it's just one of many, right? This whole thing is really a call to action. It's about having the conversations that really matter, even if they feel a little awkward. So, the question is, what curtain will you pull back today?